Hello there. Thank you for staying with us and welcome to another edition of Channels Beam. I'm Victor Matthias. Now, the move by the federal government to regulate social media got a boost after governors and other leaders from northern Nigeria declared their support for it. However, there is legislation already on ground to guide the use of the medium, but a section of Nigerians believe the recent move stands to violate some of their fundamental rights as provided by the 1999 Constitution as amended. So today on the program, we will be looking at the pros and the cons of using the medium, examples of when it was used to peddle fake news and what can be done to stop the use of the medium to spread false or misleading information. But before we dig into all of that, let's take a breather and see what made the social media trends in the past week.
Nigerians protested the directive given to telecommunication companies to update their subscribers' SIM card registration with a national identity number within 2 weeks, failure of which they will be sanctioned. Those who reacted expressed disapproval, saying the time frame for the exercise was rather too short. They also wondered how over 100 million phone users in the country would besiege NIMC offices in this period of a second wave of COVID-19. A few others suggested that getting NIN should be made online to curtail the possible spread of COVID, and that it should also be integrated with SIM through USSD. Mixed reactions trailed President Muhammadu Buhari's directive for the immediate reopening of 4 land borders in Seme, Maigatari, Ileila and Mfun. While some criticized the closure of the borders, which according to them had brought more hardship in the country, others wondered why it took the federal government this long to open the borders despite the mass sufferings. Some, however, admitted that the disastrous effect of COVID-19 had thwarted the gains achieved by the closure, making it seem as though nothing was achieved.
Well, there you go. Those were the trends. Congratulations to Kamala Harris as well as Joe Biden. But you can be a part of the conversation. Just join us from anywhere you are around the world. Tweet at us at Channels TV, at Channels Beam, at Victor_MBIDI. And you can also use the hashtag social media regulation as well as the hashtag fake news. But joining us to look at today's topic, we have with us right here in the Lagos studio, Mayowa Tijani. He is a multi-award-winning public speaker and development journalist whose works have been translated to various languages. He has also been quoted by global media corporations. A 2017 Chevening Scholar, Mayowa currently leads the AFP Facebook fact-checking drive in Nigeria. It's a pleasure to have you on the program today.
To be here.
Indeed, you're welcome. We also have joining us from our Abuja studio, we have with us Isaac Adeyonju. He is a legal practitioner who now seeks to work expansively on public policy and government affairs, particularly with respect to the institution's perspective on cyber policing and cloud-based technology. Isaac, it's a pleasure to have you on the program today. You're welcome. Well, Mayowa kicks out this conversation for us. I mean, so much conversation around regulating social media, peddling of fake news. But what's your perspective, on this contentious issue, I must say, contentious?
Yeah, I totally agree that misinformation, fake news is gradually becoming a problem everywhere in the world. But I also disagree with governments that it's not the place of the government, at least as we know it today, to determine how and what should be shared on social media and off social media. So while regulating social media should be some sort of self-regulation, there should be places for saying, okay, as responsible citizens, the way we dealt with the COVID-19 protocols, wear a mask, wash your hands, do this, that's how we are supposed to deal with the challenges of misinformation, not putting a law in place to say, if you share this, because the question would then be who determines what is false and what is right. So once that becomes a political question, then political persons in government begin to seize the opportunity to use we've seen government agencies say some of the things that happened with the NSAS campaign was fake news. And then we see how the trend goes back and say, okay, this happened, then this happened, then this happened. So dealing with that, the government should not be in a position to say, this is how we should deal with social media.
So this is pretty much one example of how things have played out, in recent time. But apart from that, when else would you say, or can you pinpoint that, this medium was used to perhaps, pass on information that is incorrect?
So one of the things we've observed at the FP is that once there's a crisis of any sort, there's always an increase in misinformation. So the xenophobic attacks in 2019, we saw a spike in misinformation. The COVID-19 crisis in March, April, we saw a rise in misinformation. And of course, before then, the 2019 elections, we saw misinformation moving around. So basically, when there is maybe something new, when there is a vacuum, when people don't know enough about what is happening, there's also the potential for fake news to rise. And then when we have a situation where maybe the authorities, this time it could be the government, it could be an agency, it could be a private body in charge of a certain situation, are trying to keep information away from the public, then people begin to use imaginations to whip up things and share misinformation. And in some situations, we've seen it go so bad, leading to damages and all that within and outside the country. And in some other situations, we've seen basically misinformation whips up some certain kind of sentiment.
So yeah, I think I kind of agree with you on that. So one thing that has crept up not too long, is deepfakes.
Yeah.
And it's almost near true. Yes. Because we say seeing is believing, right?
Exactly.
So how do we demystify this aspect of fake news?
I think that is going to be an extremely challenging part of fake news going forward. Now, for example, in Nigeria, we don't have a lot of it. Okay, so the closest example we've seen to anything like that, and really wasn't deepfake per se, was just altering a video, was during the 2019 election. We had a situation where there was a video that was making the rounds on social media claiming that the president of the United States had endorsed a certain candidate in Nigeria. And the video was well done such that a lot of people started feeling, this person is supporting this candidate. And then it went on. But I feel like the challenge with deepfakes is not for now. The challenge with deepfakes, maybe the next election.
2023?
Yes, maybe some near election where a video can be made using the face, the voice, and the movement of a person to say, okay, so think about it. Maybe the most influential person in Nigeria, I don't know who that may be, releases a video to say that we should vote for a certain candidate. And the way deepfakes work, when there are multiple images, multiple videos, it's easy to make.
To manipulate.
So when you manipulate, okay, let's say a religious leader, for example, that people say millions of Nigerians believe in. A deepfake video is made of him saying that vote for this candidate. People could just take that and run with it. So this is one of the challenges. I know the major social media giants are working on saying you cannot upload deepfakes to this website. If we detect it, we are taking it down. But in a place like, for example, WhatsApp is one of the most used instant messaging apps in the country.
Yeah.
That is going to be difficult to cope because of the end-to-end encryption. Yeah. All
right, so let me quickly go to our Abuja studio and let's look at the side of the law now. We have a tech lawyer there in Abuja, Isaac Adeyanju, and we also have Martin Obono, who just walked in. Martin, it's a pleasure to have you also on the program. But Martin, let me kickstart the conversation with you. So earlier on, Maiwa talked about who is to determine what is right and what is false when you're sharing information on social media. And I understand that the Cybercrime Act, when it was passed in 2015, in May of 2015, there was a lawsuit at the Federal High Court in Lagos, which was taken to the appeal court. And, at the appeal court, the same ruling that was given at the Federal High Court, again, was given at the appeal court. So Now, this judgment said the Cybercrime Act does not violate any fundamental human rights, which of the bone of contention is the right of expression, freedom of expression. But what is happening exactly? I mean, how, if it does this law violate, or why is it not in place, so to speak?
Okay, so first of all, I would like to say thank you for having me on the show. Most importantly is to also understand that the ECOWAS court has actually ruled that cybercrimes, Section 24 of the Cybercrimes Act is inconsistent with the international
Article
treaties
1.
that Nigeria is signatory to in terms of the ones that guarantee freedom of expression and freedom of speech. It's also very inconsistent with the Constitution, Section 36, 35, 36, 39, 40. So basically, the Cybercrimes Act that is also supposed to that serves as a gag to people's speech and also expression on social media is also very inconsistent with even natural justice. Because at the end of the day, so what these laws basically are doing is that they try to infringe on the rights of citizens that are already guaranteed under the Constitution. So, for example, Section 39 sub 1 of the 1999 Constitution as amended says that every citizen has the freedom to hold an opinion. To hold an opinion. Now, if you have the freedom to hold an opinion, what that automatically says is that opinion can neither be true nor false. But what you can have is that opinion can be wrong. So I can have a wrong opinion, right? And that doesn't mean that that opinion is false. So they are just practically trying to turn the idea of people having a wrong opinion to make it false opinion and misrepresent it in terms of in such a way that it can be criminalized. So that's exactly what Section 24 of the Cybercrime Act has done, to criminalize freedom of expression, to criminalize people's rights to express themselves and free speech. Not just that, because our laws actually kind of guarantee, or not that kind of, they guarantee you the right to seek redress in civil courts. So if you are offended that I have made a publication or I have said something to you that is not in tandem with your kind of image or who you think you are, the thing you need to do, the right thing for you to do is to seek redress under slander or under defamation of character and what have you. But what the laws now, these current laws are doing is that they are trying to criminalize that expression, to say you have to go to jail for these things, you have to go to jail for that. So the people who drafted our laws or who made jurisprudence in such a way that it guarantees that freedom of expression shouldn't be criminalized were not mad when they did that. These are the following reasons why. One is that once you criminalize expression, what you're basically doing is that you make people fear to express themselves. So you make them not to be able to involve in democratic participation of their country or in their country. So at the end of the day, once that fear is there, people will not be able to come out and talk. So then when jurisprudence, in the process of developing the laws, and there was that opinion, there was that provision that you can only seek redress for defamation, or you should seek redress for defamation in civil courts, not in criminal courts. They were not wrong when they were doing that. Yeah. But what these laws are now doing, and why people are screaming, there is a direct attempt.
Okay, Martin, I was just
that there is a direct attempt to gag the civic space is because this government is practically carrying out everything and doing everything to ensure that free speech is gagged and that people should not express themselves.
All right, I'll just come back to you in a bit. Let me just quickly move to Isaac, who is sitting right next to you, of course, in our Abuja studio. Isaac, so you're a tech lawyer, and most of the times this whole conversation around using social media platforms and all of that to spread fake news, libel, slander, and all of that. How many instances would you say, or are there, that these laws have been used to prosecute those who fall short or who are found wanting, in this regard?
Okay, thank you very much. Well, I must start by saying where there is no law, there can be no offense, and when there's no law, there can be no crime. It's very important to state that in as much as Section 39 of the Constitution has laid the foundation for freedom of expression, freedom of speech, and as a matter of fact, the use of the social media space as we have it today in Nigeria, it is very important to note that the emergence of several frameworks, legal frameworks, to further govern the Nigerian social media space has done more good than harm. For example, the Cyber Crimes Act as we have it, for example, the Protection Against Internet Falsehood and Manipulation Act, which was enacted last year. We must tell ourselves the truth. These provisions have come to do more justice than we have today. You see, in the dynamism of human nature, what we must understand is that as time moves on, there is always an increase. There is always a tendency for man to emerge into a new civilization. In 10, 20, 30 years ago, we had nothing to say about social media. We had nothing to say about social media interactions. But presently, we can't say one or two things without talking about the impact of social media in how humans interact, how humans collaborate, how we all talk with one another, how we all make decisions, how we all interact with one another. So why not? It's very important, it's very efficient to have provided for several legal frameworks, several legal infrastructures to govern this dimension of human civilization. So I must say it's a laudable invention that the Cyber Crimes Act came at the right time. That, for example, the Protection Against Internet Falsehood and Manipulation came at this time. But I must say that these provisions have done a lot to curb the instances of cyberbullying, cyber stalking, cyber terrorism, fake news, and all of that in our cyberspace today, in which the social media
let me hold you, Isaac.
So
Isaac, let me hold you for a bit as you enumerate these good things that you say this act has done for us as we interact using social media and all of that. Let me just hold you there for a bit. We'll take a quick break, and of course, when we come back, I'll come back to you to continue. Please stay with us. Thank you for staying with us. If you're just joining us, you're watching Channels Beam coming to you live from Channels TV's global headquarters in Lagos, Nigeria. And we've been speaking about the Cybercrime Act, most precisely Section 24 of that act, which it has made it an offense to send via a computer system, which is a message which is grossly offensive, pornographic, or of an indecent, obscene, or menacing character, or to send a message or cause any such message or matter to be so sent, or to send a message knowing it to be false for the purpose of causing annoyance, inconvenience, danger, obstruction, insult, injury, criminal intimidation, enmity, hatred, ill will, or needless anxiety to another, or cause to such a message to be sent. The sentence on conviction for such an offense is a fine of up to 7 million naira or imprisonment for 3 years or both. So just before we went on break, Isaac Adeyanju in our Abuja studio was enumerating some of the good that this law has done. Isaac, let me just come back to you now. In terms of the good that you've made mention of, has there been any point in time where one person was found wanting and this law was applied?
Yes, there have been several occasions where a person has been found wanting and this law has been applied. There are several instances in the administration of criminal justice in Nigeria where the courts have done justice to the spirit of the Cyber Crimes Act. For example, we have the recent decision in 2019 of the Court of Appeal in the case of Solomon Odegbara versus the Attorney General of the Federation. It started from the Federal High Court and it went to the Court of Appeal, where the court clearly affirmed the fact that the provision of Section 24 of the Cyber Crimes Act has not in any way been inconsistent with the provisions of the Constitution. Look, it's very clear that the infrastructure of social media in Nigeria and the world as we have it today cannot be overemphasized. But look, what happens when, in the use of a man's right, he breaches another person's right? You can tell me that you have the right to express yourself, for example, freely as you want. But what happens when, in the use of that right to express yourself, you breach the right of a brother, of your brother, you breach the right of a fellow citizen as much as you are? Such person is a citizen as much as you are. You understand? And a lot of persons have used these rights to express themselves in such ways that has breached or have trampled on the rights of other individuals. Look, that's why it has been clearly stated that where a man's right begins is where another person's right ends. Where a man's right ends is where another person's right begins. And that's why the provision of the Constitution in Section 35 has made it very clear. Sorry, Section 36 has made it very clear that except an offense is defined and penalized in an act, such offense cannot be used, such actions cannot be used to criminalize, cannot be used to criminalize an offense. But look, how do we go forward talking about governing our freedom of expression if we don't make laws? If we don't make laws, if we don't make legal infrastructures, if we don't make legal provisions in place to help us control the instances of social media abuses. And look, we must tell ourselves the truth. We can't hide from the truth. The truth keeps facing us every day of our lives.
I mean, like you said, sorry, Isaac, like you said, I mean, we can't shy away from the truth. But that seems to be your own truth. The truth for others is the fact that this bill is more of a gag on their freedom of expression. What do you think about that?
Well, what I would say about that is that I won't call it a gag on freedom of expression. Look, it's better we look at the Cyber Crimes Act as a further governing enactment to help do the spirit of Section 39 of the Constitution. It's a provision that helps the Nigerian citizen to achieve justice in terms of the provision of Section 39 of the Constitution. Look, as I said earlier, if we define and if we look into the spirit of Section 39 of the Constitution in isolation, a lot of injustice will be done. If the courts in Nigeria today determines, for example, to enforce the provisions of Section 39 alone in isolation of other provisions existing in Nigeria today, a lot of injustice will be done. And that's why provisions like the Cyber Crimes Act has come at a time like this. Provisions like the Protection Against Internet Falsehood and Manipulation has come at a time like this to control the instances
Isaac,
of miscreants and elements.
This will be a good place to hold it. Let me just quickly just hear from Martin before I come back to Lagos. Martin, he's making a case on the good, on instances where, you know, we've had this bill coming to place quite handy. But at the same time, there is also the fact that it tramples upon some people's rights. And like he said, where one's right stops, another's starts. And so this law is now in place, but now there is a need to bring in another one into place. Are they clashing? What exactly is the bone of contention at the moment?
First, thank you. I'd first like to correct Isaac on the fact that the Protection from Internet Falsehood has been passed. No, it hasn't been passed. I mean, I was at the Senate on the, sometime last year when the bill was going through second reading, and it was shut down by majority of the people who came for the public hearing. 99% of Nigerians rejected that bill by all means necessary. And it was practically just the Nigerian army, and even including the ICPC, rejected that bill on the floor of the Senate. It was televised live. And so that bill is actually not going to see the light of the day because the Nigerian people have said no to it and it's not going to see the light of the day. So secondly, I also want to say that if you've had the provisions of Section 24, which criminalizes freedom of expression, why do you need a new law that talks about protection from internet falsehood if you are not interested in gagging voice of reason and opposition voices, or even the voice of reason, basically? So for me, it's not about the idea of the law protecting people or not. It is about who the law targets. So you look at even the cyber crimes, I mean, the protection from internet falsehood. What does that law say? It still talks about the idea of people whose platforms are used for information will be liable to pay 10 million naira fine, or they will be liable to 2 years imprisonment. Now, now, this is just transmission, and you call whatever is transmitted, say for example, on channels' websites, will be classified as false information instead of, if at all, it is going to be classified as false information, it should be wrong information. Like I said, opinion, right? It is
just quickly wind down. We need to go.
So basically, what I'm saying in essence is that the social media bill, otherwise known as the Protection from Internet Falsehood Prohibition Bill, is actually inconsistent with what the Constitution says. Not only that, the bill, the Cyber Crimes Act, Section 24, I was among those in 1999, in 2009 and 2010, who were canvassing for the enactment of Cyber Crimes Act. And I tell you one thing for free. When we were pushing for this bill, I saw it before the bill got into the House of Representatives, at least. That bill had nothing of Section 24. But when the bill came out, they smuggled Section 24 into it because we knew, they knew at the end of the day that this bill is supposed to target opposition voices, it's supposed to target activists and young people.
All right, Martin,
let me ask a question.
Martin,
how many of these people who have been arrested based on Section 24 are ordinary citizens? This bill targets people who criticize government, who...
With all due respect, Martin, I think this is a conversation that would have to continue another time. But Martin Obono, thank you for being a part of the program, as well as Isaac Adeyanju from our Abuja studios. Thank you both for joining us on the program. Maiwa, in 30 seconds, what do you think about this, just as we go? 30 seconds.
I think there's a trust issue in lawmaking process in Nigeria. We put out something, we smuggle something, we bring out something else. We do not want to see that play out within the social media space. So I would say that no, government should not be in the business of regulating social media. Thank
you very much, Maiwa Tijani, for also being part of the program and sharing your thoughts. And that's it today on the program. Thank you so very much for watching. I'm Victor Matthias. Bye for now.